The night sky over Washington, D.C. was ripped apart on January 29, 2025. A horrifying collision between an American Airlines passenger jet and a U.S. Army helicopter turned a routine flight into an unimaginable tragedy. The Bombardier CRJ-700, carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members, was on its final approach to Reagan National Airport. The Army's Black Hawk helicopter, with 3 soldiers on board, was conducting a training exercise. Around 9 p.m., the unthinkable happened. The 2 aircraft, hurtling through the darkness, collided over the icy waters of the Potomac River. The impact sent shockwaves through the region, both literally and figuratively. Witnesses described a terrifying explosion, followed by a chilling silence. The wreckage, scattered across the river's surface, painted a grim picture of the devastation. Hope for survivors faded with each passing hour. The crash, the deadliest in the United States since the horrific events of 2001, claimed the lives of all 67 people on both aircraft. The nation watched in horror as the magnitude of the loss became clear. Among the victims were families returning home, young athletes on the cusp of greatness, and dedicated soldiers serving their country. The crash left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of fate. As families grieved and communities struggled to comprehend the loss, investigators began the daunting task of piecing together the events that led to this catastrophic event. The immediate aftermath of the crash was a scene of chaos and heartbreak. Rescue workers, battling freezing temperatures and treacherous currents, raced against time to locate survivors. However, the force of the impact and the unforgiving waters left little hope. The recovery operation quickly shifted from a search and rescue mission to a grim recovery effort. Divers, working in grueling conditions, faced the harrowing task of recovering the remains of the victims. The process was painstakingly slow, hampered by the darkness, the cold, and the emotional toll of the tragedy. As each day passed, the number of bodies recovered grew, adding to the immense sorrow felt by the families and the nation. The investigation into the cause of the crash began immediately, with the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, taking the lead. Investigators, combing through the wreckage and analyzing air traffic control recordings, faced a complex puzzle. Determining what went wrong, what combination of factors led to this catastrophic collision, would be a long and arduous process. The wreckage itself, scattered across the riverbed, held vital clues. The flight data recorders, often referred to as black boxes, would be crucial in understanding the final moments of both aircraft. The information they contained, altitude, speed, communications, would help paint a clearer picture of the events leading up to the collision. As investigators delved into the circumstances surrounding the crash, the complex and often congested airspace around Reagan National Airport came under intense scrutiny. Situated just across the Potomac River from the nation's capital, DCA operates under strict security protocols and handles a mix of commercial, military, and government aircraft. One focus of the investigation was the air traffic control situation at the time of the collision. Initial reports indicated that a single controller was managing both the helicopter and the passenger jet in the moments before the crash. This unusual configuration, while not unheard of, raised concerns about potential staffing shortages and their impact on safety. Further complicating matters was the challenging nature of the airspace itself. Flight restrictions, designed to protect sensitive government buildings and landmarks, funnel aircraft through narrow corridors. This confluence of factors, a single controller managing multiple aircraft in a restricted airspace, created a situation ripe for potential miscommunication or error. The investigation also examined the role of technology in the tragedy. Modern aircraft are equipped with sophisticated collision avoidance systems designed to alert pilots to potential threats and provide guidance for evasive maneuvers. Whether these systems malfunctioned, were not properly engaged, or were simply unable to prevent the collision in the limited time available, remains a central question for investigators. The investigation into the tragic collision over the Potomac River will be lengthy and complex. It will require meticulous analysis of evidence, careful reconstruction of the events leading up to the crash, and a thorough examination of the many factors that contributed to this devastating loss of life. The goal is not only to determine what happened, but also to identify any systemic failures and implement changes to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. The families of the victims, grappling with unimaginable loss, deserve answers. They deserve to know how and why their loved ones perished in this horrific accident. The public too deserves transparency and accountability. This tragedy has shaken our faith in the safety of our skies, and it is imperative that we learn from this disaster to prevent future tragedies. In the wake of the crash, there have been calls for increased safety measures, including enhanced air traffic control protocols, stricter flight restrictions around sensitive airspace, and mandatory upgrades to collision avoidance systems. These calls for reform are understandable and necessary. However, they must be accompanied by a commitment to thorough investigation, unbiased analysis, and a willingness to address any systemic issues that may have contributed to this tragedy. The road ahead will be long and difficult. The scars of this tragedy will remain long after the investigation is complete. However, by seeking answers, demanding accountability, and working to improve aviation safety, we can honor the memory of those lost and strive to prevent such a devastating event from ever happening again. We owe it to the victims, their families, and ourselves to ensure that this tragic collision serves as a catalyst for meaningful change and a safer future for air travel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on notifications, and we hope you enjoyed the video.